Hello and welcome to this application support webinar for the 2020 call for applications for mobility between programme countries, also known as Key Action 103. Let's spend a few minutes focusing on the bigger picture, away from the higher education sector, as the Erasmus Plus programme is much larger than that, which may help you to understand the scope of the Erasmus Plus programme. This information will probably be most relevant to those of you who have been in your Erasmus Plus roles for a short time and may find the volume of it rather overwhelming. Erasmus Plus is the European Union programme for education, training, youth and sport organisations across all sectors of lifelong learning, including school education, further and higher education, adult education and the youth sector. The Erasmus Plus programme runs for 7 years, from 2014 to 2020, with organisations invited to apply for funding each year, and is broken down into centralised and decentralised activities. The programme is structured around 5 actions, whilst only 3 are managed on the national level. The centralised activities are delivered at a European level across all participating countries by the European Commission's executive agency, which is based in Brussels. Centralised projects are larger and more strategic, designed to tackle specific issues throughout Europe. Decentralised activities, on the other hand, are delivered at national level by a network of organisations known as national agencies. National agencies are themselves overseen by national authorities, government departments responsible for ensuring the programme is delivered in their countries. As I mentioned earlier, the UK National Agency is split between 2 organisations, the British Council and Accreditation. The 2 organisations have different responsibilities. However, it is nice and easy for the UK universities, as all higher education specific agenda is managed by us here at the British Council. Key Action 1. As you can see in the slide, the Key Action 1 for higher education breaks down to 2 actions, 103, Learning Mobility for Individuals, and 107, International Credit Mobilities. Key Action 103 focuses on learning mobilities for individuals and are performed within the group of programme countries. Here is the list of the countries that can participate in the Erasmus Plus programme under Key Action 103. The programme countries are those who belong to the EU and also include former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, Iceland, Norway, Liechtenstein, and Turkey, Norway, and Serbia. The applying higher education institution can apply for Key Action 1 funding either as an individual organisation established in the programme country and awarded with the Erasmus Charter for Higher Education, or via a consortium of which it is a member. During the implementation of the mobility project, a minimum of 2 organisations, at least 1 sending and at least 1 receiving organisation, from different programme countries must be involved. Under Key Action 103, the aim is to ensure high-quality mobilities with positive and long-lasting effects on the participants and participating organisations involved. For detailed objectives of this key action, please visit page 29 of the Erasmus Plus programme guide. The duration of a project under Key Action 1, Mobility Between Programme Countries, is 16 or 24 months. The start date for 2020 Key Action 103 mobilities is 1st of June 2020, and you can see the project end dates depending on the duration selected. As applications for Key Action 103 must be submitted to the national agency of the country in which the applicant organisation is established, you'll be submitting your application to us, the UK National Agency. Under Key Action 103, Mobility Between Programme Countries, there are 4 different mobility types you can apply for by choosing one or all of them in the online application form. For students, there are student study mobility and student traineeship mobility. Study mobility must be between 3 and 12 months, and traineeships are between 2 and 12 months. For staff, there are mobility for training and mobility for teaching. The duration of both teacher mobility and trainer mobility must fall between 2 days and 2 months. Please note that for combined teaching and training placements for staff, the minimum number of teaching hours is 4 hours per week, not 8. For placements that include only teaching, the minimum duration remains at 8 hours per week. For invited staff from enterprises, the minimum duration of mobility is only 1 day, and no minimum number of teaching hours is required. When considering durations, please note that the European Commission considers 1 month to be 30 days. So, for example, 3 months would be 90 days. You must apply for all funding types on one application form. That means if you are considering applying for all 4 types of mobility, you'll need to include them all under just one application. Erasmus Charter for Higher Education. Once your institution is awarded the Erasmus Charter for Higher Education, you are awarded it for the programme duration, or rather the end of your project, and you do not need to apply for it again. If your institution doesn't currently hold the Erasmus Charter for Higher Education, you unfortunately won't be able to apply for Erasmus Plus funding under this 2020 call. If you are not sure if your institution holds an ECHE, you can check via the ECHE list online by clicking on the website hyperlink in this slide. Mobility Consortium Accreditation Certificate. A mobility consortium is when a group of organisations submits an application form for funding. A consortium must comprise of at least 3 eligible UK-based organisations, and 2 of which must be sending HEIs that have been awarded the ECHE. There is a separate form specifically for the Mobility Consortium Accreditation Certificate, which you are able to access as part of the other applications available to higher education institutions. You can submit your consortium application at the same time as your mobility application. If your application for consortium is successful, the duration of the certificate is for 3 consecutive years. Also, you can apply for the same key action as an individual organisation as well as part of a consortium. However, it is your responsibility to prevent mobility participants from double funding. Participant Identification Code and Organisation ID. Please note that the Organisation ID has replaced the PIC as the unique identifier for an organisation to apply for funding. Organisations that have a PIC and have previously applied for funding in the Erasmus Plus through the National Agency have been automatically assigned an Organisation ID, so please do not create a new one. You can use the Organisation Registration System via the link in the slide to check an Organisation ID, as well as change some of the information linked to it. If you haven't made an application before and do not have an Organisation ID, don't worry, you can also use the Organisation Registration System to register a new organisation. Online application form. We do get asked if institutions can apply simultaneously for other funding streams in addition to Key Action 103 under the same call, and the answer is yes. As you will see on the portal website, there is a separate form for international credit mobility, as is for other key actions. For each key action, we regularly prepare plenty of application guidance, which you can find on our Erasmus Plus website. Regarding submitting more applications under the same key action, such as 2 Key Action 103 or 2 Key Action 107 applications under one institution, this would not be possible, as a single organisation can only submit one application. What, however, is possible is to submit an application under the same key action as a single organisation and as part of a consortium. The next question that we often receive is whether you have to include information regarding your partner HEIs. Under the Key Action 103, you do not need to provide partner information. You will only be required to input details on the mobilities you wish to apply for. Some beneficiaries have also been wondering whether there are any disadvantages to apply for a shorter or a longer project duration. The answer is simply no. From the assessment point of view, there really aren't any disadvantages in choosing any of the two possible lengths of projects. It is at your organisation's discretion. That said, if, for example, there has been an underspend in your organisation's previous Erasmus Plus projects, it would be worth considering applying for the longer duration of project, as this would allow your organisation more time to spend the allocated funding. If the legal representative is different to previous calls, that's fine. Simply detail the new legal representative on the application form and ensure that the same individual signs the declaration of honour for the application form. If the legal representative changes after funding is awarded, we will require a change of data form, which is available to download on our website. Regarding the mandatory annexes for the application, the Declaration of Honour is the only mandatory annex for applications made by single institutions. The 2020 online application forms are accessible from many sites, such as from the UK National Agency's website or the European Commission's website. Whichever way you use, you'll end up on the application portal. An EU login will be required to access the portal. If you would already have your access to the Mobility Tool Plus, you can use the same logins. If not, this isn't an issue and it will prompt you to create your personal login. Once you are in the portal, click on Higher Education, which, as you can see, will lead you to the group of online applications relevant to the higher education institutions. To enter the application form, just click on the blue Apply button. It may be useful to know that as you work through the form, it automatically saves your work every 2 seconds. You will also be able to go in and out of the application as you wish, right until the submission deadline on the 5th of February. Simply click the house icon as highlighted in the picture. If you want to close the form and work on it at a later date, you can access the application under the My Applications tab of the Web Application Forms homepage. We would probably recommend just bookmarking the page for an easy return to your application. Every online application starts with this welcome message, reminding you of the European Commission's guidelines, and we recommend at least a quick scroll through so you have a good understanding of all the aspects of the online form. You can return to the guidelines anytime by clicking on the guidelines in the left-hand side vertical menu The application for Key Action 103 has got 5 content sections, as you can see on the left. Just very briefly, context refers to the project start and end date, duration of the project, national agency, and language relevant to your project. In the section for applicant organisations, you'll be completing information about your organisation by entering the organisation ID that we spoke about previously. All details of your organisation are then generated automatically based on the organisation ID. This section is also a place to define whether you are applying on behalf of a consortium or not. Whilst this is a fairly straightforward section, I would like to draw your attention to the project contacts and encourage you to nominate 3 contacts as soon as you start to avoid filling additional forms later on. The third section, Mobility Activities, refers to the total duration of all requested student mobility periods in full months and extra days, and of all requested staff mobility periods in days. Regarding the section for annexes, as mentioned previously, all you need to do is download, sign, and attach the Declaration of Honour. The last section, Checklist, is there to ensure that you have completed all compulsory parts of the application. You will need to tick all boxes, including the data protection notice at the very bottom, in order to complete this section. There's a few common questions that we regularly receive from the applicants, such as share of staff mobility dedicated to specific training. If your organisation is requesting funding for either staff teaching or staff training, you will be asked to input the percentage of mobilities that is dedicated to pedagogical and/or curriculum design skills. It is at your university's discretion how to calculate this, but you could, for example, base this on your previous applications for Key Action 107. Please note, the European Commission would like this figure to be as accurate as possible. But if this figure is incorrect, your organisation will not be penalised at the end of the project or under future calls. Calculation of mobility duration. To calculate durations for student and staff mobilities, this should be cumulative. For example, if you are sending 10 members of staff on a teaching placement for 4 days each, you would input the number of participants as 10 and the total number of days as 40, which is the number of participants multiplied by the duration. You can find more examples in the application guide on our website. Application submission. You will not be able to click the submit button until all sections of the web form are complete. You will receive a confirmation upon submitting the application. You should submit your application only when you are happy with the finalised version. However, any time before the deadline, you can return to your already submitted application under My Applications tab, correct and resubmit it. All applications are first checked for eligibility. Applications that are eligible are then taken on for further assessment before an award decision is made. Applicants will receive a notification of award decision within 4 months of the application deadline, June 2020. When to apply. The 5th of February 2020 at 11 AM UK time is the deadline for submitting applications under Key Action 1. We highly recommend that you begin working on your application as soon as possible, because the closer to the deadline we get, the busier the Erasmus Plus help desk becomes. So Whilst we do our best to support all applicants, this may not be possible if you submit questions right before the deadline. It may be useful to know that once the form is submitted, you will be able to reopen and resubmit it repeatedly, if you wish, until the submission deadline has expired. The latest submission is the one that will be accepted and evaluated by the national agency. There is an alternative submissions procedure if you suffer technical issues that prevent you from submitting your application, and a link to this is provided in the written application guidance on our website. Online resources. As you can see from the slide, there are plenty of resources to help you with completing your online application, so please refer to them when writing your application. Contact us. Here's our contact details. Our team at the UK National Agency is available every day from Monday to Friday to answer any queries you may have. Thank you for listening to this webinar, and on behalf of the UK National Agency, I wish you the best of luck with your Key Action 103 application under the 2020 call.